Right now, society faces many ethical issues on the subject of energy, one of which is global warming. Global warming is when the Earth's natural greenhouse effect retains more heat than it normally would. This is due to an increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is caused by human activity. The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has increased steadily in the last 60 years, thus resulting in an increase of the observed global temperature of Earth. But the largest contributor of carbon dioxide production is from electricity generation. Things like renewable energy sources like wind and solar produce only a fraction of what coal plants could do. To have renewable energy sources produce the same amount of power plant of coal would, thousands of wind turbines would need to be installed, as well as acres upon acres of solar farms, making renewable sources a complete substitution for coal plants economically unfeasible. To move towards greener energy alternatives, our society needs to focus on sustainable energy alternatives. To become more sustainable in our society's power production efforts, we need to find an alternative to coal that produces an equivalent amount of electricity without the carbon dioxide production. The only alternative right now is nuclear energy.
All right, so when the U.S. was first starting to look into nuclear energy, they decided to choose one of the elements that could be used in a nuclear power plant and invest all their money into it and do all their research into that one element.
So the decision was made that the United States should concentrate on the development of uranium-based reactors that would have as a byproduct plutonium, and plutonium is the most efficient initiator of nuclear reactions in a bomb.
We see that that's no good, and we don't want that to get into the wrong hands. So now it's better to think, oh, well, maybe thorium could be better. And it is.
There was a problem here in the United States in 3 Mile Island, which the impact of 3 Mile Island, I think, has been greatly exaggerated. I think that the radioactivity and the problems were contained as the design dictated. The worst thing that can happen is for a fission-based explosion to take place, and you have in these reactors a lot of radioactive waste.
Of all the accidents and incidents, only the Chernobyl and Fukushima accidents resulted in radiation doses to the public greater than those resulting from the exposure to natural sources.
So the reactors that we have, the pressurized water reactors and the boiling water reactors, they tend to be at high pressure and have a capacity to have accidents and to explode. They require big pressure vessels. These are not desirable features. With the molten salt, all the reaction takes place in the molten salt, so that you are doing all of this at normal atmospheric pressure, which does not have the potential of an explosion. And a fantastic feature of all of this is that that the reactions are taking place in a container which has a plug at the bottom. The plug heats up, it melts, and lo and behold, everything in the reactor drains out into a container, and there's no more nuclear reaction. So if the system fails, you have a safe conclusion.
There's other advantages too. So thorium can be used in a molten salt reactor. So that's like the biggest advantage of thorium, is that it can be used, and it's much safer than the uranium reactors. There's two other advantages, main advantages of thorium. It's more abundant in the United States and in the world. 5 times as much thorium than uranium.
Another advantage of thorium reactors is that it can be made in a much smaller, modular fashion. This will allow the reactors to be placed much closer and without power lines.
A lot more could be done to inform the public about what's happening in other countries, particularly India and China, where there are initiatives with thorium. I think there needs to be more education in general about nuclear realities.